To my fellow African diaspora, to my brothers and sisters on the continent of Africa, happy Africa Day. 57 years ago, May 25th, 1963, our Pan-African fathers met in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, at the invitation of Emperor Haile Selassie to discuss how we could build an Africa that spoke with one voice. Sadly, when they went to Addis Ababa that year, they were divided. The European nations were in full force to see to it that the conversations that were supposed to lead to the death of the Berlin Conference would not yield the desired result. They went to Addis Ababa divided into groups. The Casablanca group that believed in African Union now and that Africa was for the Africans. And the Monrovia group, who were the nationalists, who said, let's not go too fast on this United Africa story. Let's take it easy, let's go slow. They were the majority and they won. We often say, when the African leaders, the Pan-Africanists failed to reach a consensus in 1963 and came up with a compromise decision that gave us the Organization of African Unity, we often say that's when Africa failed. 57 years later, we're still struggling with the creation of an Africa that is speaking with one voice. Once upon a time, my brothers and sisters, Africa was once a thriving tree of life. Our African national anthem speaks to the tree of life, the African tree of life, that was once the center of the Garden of Eden, which is Africa. The invaders from abroad, they descended upon our beloved continent and they strategized on how to destroy this thriving African tree of life that gave beautiful flowers, beautiful fruits year in and year out. Today, the African tree of life continues to ail. It is our responsibility as the children of Africa to rebuild and resuscitate our ailing African tree of life. It is our responsibility and ours alone to pick up the conversations that were started by our Pan-African fathers back in 1963. The unfinished business of our Pan-African fathers must be finished. It is our responsibility. Allow me to break down why, the reasons why our African tree of life is ailing. You see, you got to understand, when the invaders came to Africa, they had an agenda. They found an amazing continent with powerful kingdoms. And they just knew, without a major strategy, there was no way on earth that they could conquer such powerful people. So they started where it mattered the most, the mind. They sought out to destroy us and make us believe everything African was bad and everything European was better and more desirable. To this day, we foolishly believe that. They turned around and equated ourselves and called us black and equated us to the devil who is black, and we must shy away from the devil. They equated themselves to the angels who are white, and we are supposed to worship the white angels. So it is, the lies began from such a basic level. The criminalization of blackness, the seed of black self-hate, black mistrust of each other was sown way back then, centuries ago. We have failed to undo the lie. I call it lie number one. So on that particular lie, I would like to say to our ministers of health, ministers of education, my apology, to our ministers of education, why do we continue to use colonial textbooks? You, as the ones responsible for correcting the miseducation of the African, we're asking you to please do something about our educational system. Yes, we understand IT is important in this day and age, but let's not forget our history. For us to heal from the legacy of slavery and the legacy of colonization, we must understand our history. We must understand how we got to be where we are. That is the only way we can strategize on how we can get ourselves out of the doldrums we find ourselves in. So to the ministers of education across the continent, please, we're asking you to do something about the miseducation of the African. We're asking you to do something about teaching our children our history. That is the only way we are going to turn the corner and heal ourselves from the lies that anything Black is bad and everything Western is better and more desirable. Our children must understand our history, and education is where it begins. We're counting on you to do the right thing. The African educational system must be revisited. Let's get rid of the old colonial history textbooks. We are in a position to write our own history, starting with the history in your own countries. Let our children know who our heroes are in our own countries, not heroes from miles, thousands of miles away. Let's teach our children the truth and nothing but the truth. And after they started and destroyed our minds and brainwashed us, they went on to destroy our continent, this time physically. They met in Berlin and strategized on how to see to it that Africa and her children are forever defeated and dominated. May I repeat that? They met in Berlin for 4 months to see to it that Africa and her children are forever defeated and dominated. November 1884 to February of 1885. Chopped us up into the tiny little economies that we are today. Economies that can never survive. What I wonder every day is that why is it that we have been incapable of rebuilding and reconstructing the Africa that once was? Why is it that we continue to run ourselves as the little bitty economies, countries that are equivalent to a state, to a county in some nations, and we call ourselves countries? And we wonder why we're defeated at the negotiating table day in and day out. The building of an Africa that speaks with one voice is a must. The building of an Africa that speaks with one voice is something that we all must aspire to, and is something that is way past due. The boundaries that were imposed upon us by the colonizers, we must destroy them. Berlin Conference must die. And along with it, the rule of divide and conquer, they all must die. It is our responsibility to destroy the Berlin Conference. And for us to be well equipped and be prepared to do so, we must understand our history and how we got to be where we are, and how Berlin Conference continues to be alive and well to this day. And then we got to where they started talking about giving us our independence. Independence that they intentionally decided that they will give us this limited political liberation, when really they're still in control. They get to decide who gets to be the next president through their financial support. What they never gave us was economic liberation. The colonizers, the multinational companies, that were in the various African countries during colonization, guess what, my brothers and sisters? They have never left. In actuality, we're still under colonization. They just lay low. They continue to siphon billions, trillions of dollars out of Africa every year. The French, of course, you all know the story. They put the icing on the cake through the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. Africa remains under siege, my brothers and sisters, until we can take charge of our own manufacturing, until we can be in control and own our pillars of development. Nothing we do is going to help us in building the Africa that we want. Let's make no mistake about it. Africa remains under siege. And then it gets even better. They came up with the global financial policies, the World Banks, the IMF, the Paris clubs, and now the Chinese. Africa is drowning in debt. Debts that have been paid a gazillion times over. When you look at what they're getting out of Africa every year compared to the peanuts that are coming to Africa, it's a joke. Why have we not been able to stop and push back and look at these financial institutions and tell them to stop abusing Africa, to stop this insanity, to stop this criminal behavior? To the ministers of finance across the continent, I'm asking you, what have you done to defend our Africa from this carnage? What is keeping you from coming together as all the ministers of finance across the continent and speak truth to power? Look at these institutions in the face. Come to the World Bank meetings and speak truth and nothing but the truth. They know what they're doing is wrong. Ours is a position of strength and truth. All we got to do is stand up and speak the truth. We are counting on you to do the right thing. I know sometimes there's fear, and I'm asking the heads of states to please allow your ministers to speak the truth to power. So they don't have to worry about speaking up and then getting fired. Let's do it for our children. Let's do it for our grandchildren and generations to come. Let's do it for our children who are dying, starving to death, dying from disease. Let's do it for our youth. Millions of them unemployed, hopeless, and feeling desperate. The world financial structures must be destroyed. And Africa demands to be treated fairly. We can no longer continue to be victims of this blatant abuse. No country can survive with such high debt repayments. This is wrong. And we're counting on you, African foreign ministers, to stand up and speak truth to these financial institutions. And then we go to the World Trade Organization. Again, Africa is expected to be the provider of natural resources. Africa is expected to create jobs for the Western world with our natural resources while our children suffer. To the ministers of trade, I say to you, why are you not pushing back against the World Trade Organization? Why aren't you demanding that the unfair trade policies be dismantled? That what they are doing is not fair, is not just, and will not be tolerated anymore. Africans deserve to be treated fairly. Our farmers are getting pennies to the dollar for their tea, for their coffee, for their cocoa. While the Western nations are building themselves. Where is Hershey City in Africa? Where is Cadbury City in Africa? We must manufacture our own cocoa products. our own coffee, our own chocolates. We can no longer take Swiss coffee that we know very well is African coffee. The unfair trade practices must come to an end, and we must challenge them and challenge them fully. Yes, we now have the head of the World Trade Organization. It's one of our own sisters, but she needs our support if she's going to be able to dismantle these policies that are so unfair. It is amazing that they have lasted for as long as they have had. It is really sad to think that we are reduced to being consumers of our own natural resources after they have left the continent and returned back with added value. We must add value to our own natural resources. We must make sure we add value for the consumption of the Africans and Africans first. We are a huge economy if only we could unite. To our sister, Ngozi, we are asking you to dismantle the World Trade Organization policies that are so unfair to the Africans. And the next issue comes to you, my fellow African diaspora. You see, the brain drain out of Africa of many years have left us without the adequate capacity to build the Africa that we want. No amount of money put into healthcare can give us the results that we want. For the majority of the healthcare professionals are outside Africa, and that is you and I. So we can't sit here thousands of miles away and complain about poor healthcare in Africa when all of you from Ghana are in New York City. When there are more Nigerian doctors in Los Angeles than in Nigeria itself. The same is true in every country, every sector, education, engineering, you name it. The brain drain out of Africa must be reversed. The brain drain that started with children of Africa leaving Africa as slaves, and the same brain drain that continued with those leaving Africa in search of greener pastures and others running away from famine and wars. The end result is, my brothers and sisters, we are outside Africa. The capacity that is needed is outside Africa. Today, as I speak, there's not a single African country that has the ability to build a railway line. There's not a single African country that has the ability to build an airport. But together, we have what it takes to build our Africa completely. The expertise is there. What is needed is unity of purpose. Unity, like other nations, other nationalities have been able to accomplish, something we have failed to do as Black people. As I live in this country of the United States, you ask for the voices of Chinese diaspora loud and clear. Ask for the voices of the Indian diaspora, the Irish diaspora, the Irish American, Japan American, Italian American. The Jewish Americans, their voices are loud and clear. But when you ask for the voices of the African diaspora, you might as well go to the graveyard because we're missing in action. It's because we've been told Africa is a diseased and dying continent, that our beloved continent is some place that we should shy away from. How long are you going to continue to be ignorant? While you're being told to stay away from your beloved Africa, they're going to Africa in droves because they know Africa is where it's at. They're not traveling thousands of miles to Africa because they love the Africans. Oh, please make no mistake about that. They are going to Africa because there's something amazing and wonderful going on in Africa. And you are being told, stay away from Africa. Brothers and sisters, what is in Africa belongs to you. It is your inheritance. If you do not wish to go and take what belongs to you, you have a responsibility to defend it for your children, your grandchildren, and generations to come. It is the right thing to do, and you must do it. Besides, when it's all said and done, as Black people, we're the mothers and fathers of humanity. And we belong on a pedestal. We deserve to lead the world because we gave birth to humanity as we know it. So please don't ever let anybody tell you Africa is a diseased and dying continent. Don't ever let anybody tell you that you're inferior to anyone, because you're not. Nobody's superior to you either. The African diaspora, you have a responsibility. To whom much is given, much is expected. We're counting on you to have that unity of purpose, to join hands. As the former AU ambassador to the United States, I've started an entity called African Diaspora Development Institute. This is an entity that I'm hoping we can all come together as people of African descent and speak with one voice. We can all come together and unite and create that unity of purpose so we can go home speaking with one voice and let our heads of states know that the children of Africa in the diaspora, while we may have been gone for far too long, we are now united, are coming home to join you in the building the Africa that we want. We know you want us. We know you have been calling on us. We have not answered because we were not united. Now that time is over. Through ADDI, we are now united. We are counting on joining hands, mobilizing according to sectors, and joining our brothers and sisters on the continent in building the Africa that we want. No more shall we continue to be disrespected. No more shall we continue to be treated as the scum of the earth, because the children of Africa have risen. The children of Africa have woken up. United, we are saying enough is enough. We are coming home and no one is going to stop us. To our heads of states, we want you to know, we had your call. To President Nana Addo of Ghana, thank you for making 2019 the year of return and declaring 2020 beyond the return. We're counting on calling and answering the call to build the city of return in Cape Coast, Ghana. We appreciate the mayor of Cape Coast for inviting us. We appreciate the King of Asebo Kingdom for welcoming us and giving us the land that we need to realize this much needed city. The city that is fitting that it is to be established in Cape Coast, Ghana, because Cape Coast, for those of you who are not aware, that's where the majority of the people of Africa who were taken out of Africa as slaves, they left out of Ghana. It is therefore fitting that a city of return be built right there, so we can look across the Atlantic and tell the slavers that while you may have succeeded for over 400 years, ultimately victory is ours. For the children of Africa will be coming home to the city of return in Cape Coast, Ghana. Thank you, President Nana Addo, for that brilliant idea. Let me conclude, my brothers and sisters, by wishing all of you a happy Africa Day. But my parting words to you are, let's commit to unity of purpose. Two things that we must accomplish if we are to turn this corner. Two things that we must accomplish if we are to say once and for all, the children of Africa must take that highest pedestal, which is where we belong. That unity of purpose. Let's have 1 million people registered with ADDI by going to our ADDI.org. Registration is free. And in addition, let's commit to pulling our financial resources together. In the coming month or two, we shall give you information about how you can be a shareholder in the African Diaspora Fund that is in the process of being registered. Remember, my brothers and sisters, no money, no voice. It is just that simple. And that is something that we have failed to do. And that is why we remain the most disrespected race. We are saying enough is enough. We can no longer be disrespected. Africa is ours. The building of the Africa we want is our responsibility and ours alone. We are going to take this bull by the horns, and we're going to count on our leadership to join us in speaking truth to power. To the various ministers in the various sectors, you have a responsibility to speak the truth. You have a responsibility to defend our Africa and defend it fiercely. That is the only way, and it is the right thing and it is the fair thing, it is the just thing to do. Defense of our Africa is something that cannot be negotiated. Speaking truth to power about our Africa cannot be negotiated. It must be done by each and every one of us. Let's stand up tall. Let's let the world know that the beautiful, intelligent, sophisticated, highly adaptable, and totally indestructible children of one mother Africa are coming together and speaking with one voice. Children, ask the world to move over, for the children of Africa are coming home. The children of Africa are united. The wishes of our Pan-African fathers, the conversations they started on May 25th, 1963, those unfinished business will be finished. If it's the last thing we do, we owe it to our children, we owe it to our grandchildren and generations to come. Happy Africa Day. Thank you.